And I did switch it to where you are reading the Bible verses this time.
Yippee.
I know. Don't sound so thrilled.
Okay, we're live. I'm doing the share to Facebook
Okay.
page. Heresy. Okay. Um, ready when you are.
All right. So I be written in the book of love. I do not care about that book above. Erase my name or write it as you will, so I may be written in the book of love. Omar Kahamim.
Love is patient. Love is kind. It is not jealous. Love is not pompous. Love is not inflated. It is not rude. It does not seek its own interests. It is not quick tempered. It does not brood over injury. It does not rejoice over wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. 1 Corinthians 14, 4 through 8.
Love is the most powerful weapon known to man. It is known to make the weak man strong and the strong man weak. Wars are started and ended because of it. Nations are built on it and thrown down because of it. When you say the words, I love you with your whole heart, you are casting a powerful spell that not even the angels of heaven and the demons of hell can break. The words, I love you, are powerful and should make every person that says them feel more connected with the people of the world and of the cosmos. So be careful with I love yous. Use them freely, but always use them honestly. Daniel Jacobs, Fire and Soul.
Love must be sincere. Hate is what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Romans 12, 9 and 10. But love your enemies. Do good to them. And lend to them without expecting to get anything back. Then your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, because He is a kind and ungrateful. He is kind to the ungrateful and wicked. Luke 6:35. Let's talk about love.
Welcome to Heresy and Heresay, a podcast reclaiming faith in a political discussion. I'm Reverend Barney, and you can follow me on Twitter at SethRothII. And you can also follow the show on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and any podcast catcher. Just look for Heresy and Hearsay. Please like, share, subscribe, follow, and also give us reviews so that helps others find us. Also, as always, to help me.
You cut out.
Are you still there? Am I still here?
Yep.
All right. What part did I cut out on?
It was, as always, here to help me.
Okay. All right. As always, here to help me, the Queen of Hearts, Ember.
Hello there. I'm September, and you can follow me on Twitch and Twitter at 9 of 12. That's NINEOF12. And hear me on the Geek Rails and Trust Your Cake podcasts. Harrison Hearsay has a Patreon site that you can find at patreon.com/Heresy and Hearsay. Please visit there today to help support us. Just $2 a month goes a long way to help us keep making this humble show.
This week's show, I wanted to focus on the good in the world, love in the world. This is something that I feel that we lose with all the hate and evil out there in the world. So today, let's talk about some good things, love. The reason I wanted to do this is because I feel that we talk about my faith and belief in my faith and the faith of love and the faith of loving everyone. Jesus spent his time with all kinds of sinners, and yet they were all supposed to be leaders. And yet, all these supposed leaders of the faith preach hate from the pulpit. Yet, not all. Yet, yes, not all preachers. but there are more than enough to go around. So I wanted to talk about the love of God and how it should be seen in a political context. I also wanted to highlight people and stories about doing good things. Before we go any further, I do want to say this. Last night, I lost a brother who is a friend of mine that I'd known for many, many years. Um, and he was a brother to me and my brother, my blood brother. And his love helped me through a lot. His family and him adopted me and my brother when our parents both passed away. And it seems kind of fitting that I get to talk a little bit about him, though, with the context that he is passed on. And so I just wanted to honor the love of Adrian Phillips, also known as Dre, and let everybody know that his love that he shared with us, his brothers and sisters, his friends, we will share that with the world so that his love is always here with us. So, that being said, so September, what do you want to talk about right now?
Well, I'll go ahead. Like, sorry, it's hard to follow that too. Um, Turning to good news. Last week we were talking about dads, and I brought up, probably not for the first time, probably not for the last, my personal, very, very strong feelings about having changing tables in men's rooms. Well, there was a nice good news story this week because it had gone around on Facebook, this like viral photo of this dad changing his son in a restroom, but he's like, there's no table, so he's got this kid draped over his lap trying to change him, and that's the reality of the situation when there's nowhere given for them to go. Well, John Legend saw this and and um, stepped in and trying to see how many helped install 5,000 changing rooms in men's restrooms.
Yeah, my understanding is that he showed the video, he showed the image, and it went viral. And him and
Pampers, yeah.
Pampers teamed together because he's a father himself. He has, I think, 2 or 3 kids right now, and he, um, he understands about being a parent, so that just hit him really hard. And I think that is an amazing story, and it's a great follow-up to what you were talking about last week about
Mm-hmm.
how fathers are trying to be fathers, trying to change diapers and stuff like that, and there's no place for them. I mean, you can't do it in the sink. That's ridiculous, as well. And so yeah, it's just it's ridiculous that there's not uh changing tables in every restroom, both male and female.
So another friend and I had posted this original story, and if you want to see a lot of threads on this, the hashtag used on Twitter that Mr. Palmer had posted the photo originally was "squat for a change." Excuse me. A friend had said, "You know what else solves a lot of these problems? Unisex restrooms."
That's true. It is. I mean, don't get me wrong. That is very much true. Unisex restrooms. There's also, and again, I hate. You're gonna make me do this again. Walmart. Walmart has family restrooms where the men's and women's restrooms can be used by families. So like the mother can take the son into the men's restroom or vice versa, and there's changing rooms in both. I just hate having to praise a corporation like Walmart. It's just but
Well, A, they can afford to do it.
yeah.
So it happens there first. And family restrooms, I don't think that's as necessarily altruistic. They do that in malls a lot too, but it's simply because their clientele might just set their kids loose on their own if they don't have a way to go into a restroom with them. So it's some of the first places you saw family restrooms.
which is a good thing, and don't get me wrong, I understand that, and I'm glad that they have the family restrooms and stuff. I'm also glad that they have the separate restrooms as well. There I don't know how many times I've been to a place like a buffet or whatever, and it's a family buffet kind of situation. Because look, I'm a big guy, I like buffets, and and you see this like 6-year-old trying to use a urinal, and it's just and it's like and it's just small enough of a restaurant where they have like maybe one or two urinals. And I have noticed, and maybe it's just me, this backtracking a little, I've noticed that back in the day they used to have the little urinals for the kids, for the male kids, and then they had regular urinal, and then a couple of regular urinals. I have noticed lately those are gone or going away. The little the shorter urinals for kids.
Hmm.
I've noticed that lately in a lot of restaurants. Most restaurants that I go now, admitting family restaurants are different, but chain restaurants, I've noticed that a lot more. I really have, and that's problematic. Some little kid trying to push himself up so they can go pee in a an adult level urinal is just ridiculous. And truck stops, or not, well, gas stations too. There's quite a number of gas stations that I have stopped at that are, huge chain gas stations, and none of them have child urinals. And I don't know if that is a
Huh.
new trend, or but it seems stupid, is what I think.
Come on, we're supposed to be staying positive today.
I know. It just happened to notice that. So, but I'm glad about the changing uh and everything. I'm glad that's going on. In political news, so I'm going to do this one
Yeah,
if that's okay.
sure.
So the Supreme Court hands Democrats a win on gerrymandering in Virginia. So basically, it's the Supreme Court. Now this is the U.S. Supreme Court, correct? Yes, it is, because
Yes, it
I
is.
see
Ginsburg
because
wrote the
I
opinion, sweetie.
Oh, woo, I just saw that part. Woo, I love it. I keep praying that she lives forever because she's going to need to. Anyway,
Well,
uh,
that's another good thing about this decision. It was what judges that normally are split on these things agreed
right.
on this decision.
Yeah, because and North Carolina is the same way, and I don't know where this is. I don't know where this is right now in our political thing. But our North Carolina also had very gerrymandered districts, and the Republicans our Republicans in our state basically came right out and said, "Yeah, it's racial. It's completely and totally racial." I mean, that's what they said. They came out and said it in news interviews, and I don't know if that got changed or not, because it really should have. You know, pardon me, but I'm glad this happened. I'm glad this worked, because it means that maybe they could. Here's the thing: I don't believe that a political party on one side or the other should decide districts. I think I think it's Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. There may be a couple other states, but I'm almost positive Arizona is one of them that has basically a council that does it, and they're not politically aligned,
Hmm.
and they have to be neutral, and so they do it that way.
Yeah, there needs to be a lot more of that.
I think so too. Though I'll be Here's the thing. I think especially with federal offices and stuff, like congressmen, senator doesn't matter, but congressmen and stuff like that. I honestly think it should be a federal thing. That it should be at the federal level, as far as, so that I believe in uniform voting. I believe in so I also think that there should be uniform style um, districts. I think that the at least uniform balloting should be a thing, so that we know. For those who, in the back who are too young to remember 2000 and the hanging Chads incident, Chads were not Chad as in a person, were these little punch cards that no one could figure out in the state of Florida. And it was absolutely ridiculous the amount of counting and talking about, well, is this what they meant or whatever. So, or did it go all the way through, or was it
I
just
mean, a malfunctioning machine is a different thing than going ahead and having people who are looking at those ballots and making those decisions. The reason this is never going to be, well, probably not going to be federally changed into something the federal government has pure power and oversight over is because that's going to be seen always as a power grab. And the states will not see that, like, their legislatures, their districts that make up how they vote on the representatives for their legislature in their state house are the kind of districts we're talking about here. They're not going to let the federal government decide how they divide up their state. States doing it in a manner that is non-political, I think, is a great thing, where this racial stuff will stop happening because no party controls. Like, usually it's been like here, the party who has the governor in control, not even the whole legislature, but whoever the governor party belonged to gets to decide how the lines are divided. There are plenty of ways to do it without doing that, but giving that over to the federal government is never going to happen. It's going to be seen to shift the power too much to the federal.
Okay, so
now balloting, I'll mention that too, because I actually have worked polls and been trained to do that. I was a chief judge in my precinct years ago. Paper ballots, I think, are very, very important. Yeah, machines that don't punch the hole all the way, you can't have that. But a purely digital no paper trail system is incredibly dangerous, not only for hacking, but if something goes wrong with it. They tried machines in my county, for instance, that the paper trail was like this receipt. Mm-hmm. So you could look through the window of the machine and see if your vote had been properly registered. However, as a poll worker, if anything went wrong, or even if there had to be a recount, pulling out what is basically miles and miles of registered tape for thousands of people and going through that as a recount, no. Nobody wants that. What we use here in Iredell County, I think, is one of the best systems available. It's OCR, optical character recognition, where you fill out your little circles and you put the ballot in the machine and it counts it. Anything that's been, not marked quite properly, crossed out, messed with, written on, gets kicked out into a different bin. At the end of the night, you have actual people. Judges, chief judges, they are people that they go in, we get training, and we get paid for that day. Not very much, but paid to go in and work. Those are all balanced by they have to be some Democrats, some unaffiliated, and some Republicans working there. And they look at the ballots, and somebody double checks to determine the intent of the voter. There's not really a better way to determine the intent of the voter than people.
No, I agree to that. And in my county, we do the same thing. So I'm for those sheets because they are a record that can be traced. So if there has to be a manual recount, they can manually recount those sheets, and they're a lot easier to do. I'm just thinking that the federal government can step in and say, that's how all ballots across the nation should work. Because I think that...
Yeah. But they can't even agree to, have a standardized software for counting. we gotta do that first.
Well, I know, I understand. So, but I'm just saying, in general, I think that this opens up a lot of good things as far as Virginia is concerned, and also opens up more questions that we can answer and look at and be like, okay, maybe if we do it this way, maybe it's better for everybody. Also, just as a reminder, and this is why it's so important to vote on non-presidential years, because governors and state houses do make these kind of decisions. Mm-hmm. So making sure that you vote every time. I think I have missed 2 primaries as a whole, that's it. Just two primaries. I've never missed an election. One primary I missed because I was living out of state at the time and didn't know if I was going to be living there permanently or not at the time, so I didn't change my registration. So that was one primary, and then the second primary, I think I was sick, and I'm one of these people. Primaries are typically there's not early voting for primaries, but I'm also one of these people that I have to vote on election day. It's one of those it's visceral, and 9 times out of 10, all of my jobs that I've had, I'm off on Tuesday and Wednesday because I work. This is not my real job, though I wished it was, but my real job is I work listening to people complain at me all day. And typically Tuesdays and Wednesdays are the slowest days for that. They typically do it, when they're Thursdays and Fridays when their pay comes, and the weekend when things mess up, and Mondays because some people still think that places like that close on the weekends. So it's one of those things that I typically have Tuesday and Wednesdays off, and I've voted in. Well, I take that back. There was another primary, but I wasn't old enough to vote, so that didn't really count. And that my first election was I helped vote in Bill Clinton. Retrospectively, I'm glad I did because he was better than Bush Sr. But in passing, I'm not so sure. I'm like, I wish there was someone else we could have voted for in the primary. Now that I think about it. But uh, don't get me wrong, I like Hillary, but Bill has become very problematic in a lot of respects, especially when it comes to the poor. So, and women, but that's another story. So there, you found this the kindling. So
Yeah, this is like a great site I found in general, where it's got all kinds of positive news stories. I will put the link in our show notes. And then it's got categories. So you can look for different types of positive stories. And being Pride Month, I clicked on LGBTQ. And it came up with it's got little stories you can click through to see where they're from. They're all from legitimate sources. At least the ones I clicked through, they were from NBC and CNN and that. But the front splash page were dated stories about different LGBT issues, all positive this year. In February, New Jersey started requiring LGBT history to be taught in schools. Also, pro LGBTQ laws in the United States outpaced anti LGBTQ laws in 2018 by a lot. In 2018, there were 201 pro LGBTQ bills introduced in state legislatures around the country, and only two of the 100 so 21 of those passed, while only two of the 110 anti-LGBTQ bills passed. That's a lot of progress in 1 year.
It is, and you also looked at it's 2 to 1 as far as what was introduced, anyways. So that alone is a big deal. Now, admitting that it's 23 versus, so it's 13%. But you look at, the point is that people are brave enough to step up and say, "Hey, let's put this out. Hey, let's put this out. Hey, we're going to keep trying. We're going to keep moving that. We're going to keep moving forward, and that is extremely important."
Yeah, there's a whole great list of stories here. But I think I'm gonna start checking this site to begin with.
Yeah, I told September at the beginning, I was like, I could barely find any happy, good stories. And she's like, well, maybe you should type in positive news stories in Google. It's like, oh, that probably works better than going to the individual websites and seeing if I could find something other than what I found, which was death, misery, and just hateful things all the way around. And I'm going, oh, this isn't helping me at all. So yeah, I'm grateful for that at least.
How to Google.
Yeah, I do Google. I figured the way I worry about doing Googling for news sources because I don't know which ones are good ones and which ones are bad ones. So, as far as I mean, you found something that does legitimate news stories. from
Yeah, I mean, you can
legitimate
always look at the
sources.
stories, and if it's a good aggregator, you check a few and see if they're coming from somewhere legit, and then you're good. Finding a good aggregator is a good thing.
So the story that I did find was on the Huffington Post, and it was about how Michelle Obama went to the Late Late Show and basically uh, had an all women's team versus James Corbin's team on that show, uh, which they were famous names on both sides, like Melina. I am
Mila
not going to.
Kunis, yeah.
Thank you so much. I
I knew
love
you were
her.
gonna struggle with that one.
I love her so much. She's an amazing woman. But her name is just like I'm glad she kept it and didn't change it. They had people like that, Kate Hudson, Melissa McCarthy, and versus like Cumberbatch, and that's the only one I know. To be perfectly honest, that's the only one on the list. Like if I Google them, because I'm bad with names, if I Google them, I could probably know there. But and even Michelle Obama was doing well, and but it shows that she's not so. She was the first lady, but it shows that she wasn't so that she's not so whatever everybody called her, before that she could like be on a silly late late show. This isn't even Stephen Colbert late show. This is like people who are insomniacs or don't sleep watching this, and everything else. And the first lady was um was the former first lady was on here, and it's just a stark contrast to the current first lady. So I'm very it brings me hope
Well, into
that
pretty much any of them. I enjoyed during their tenure, she would appear on things, and she's a good humor, and she's funny, and I mean, she was planking on Ellen, you know.
yeah. Oh, and yeah, and the thing is that she's very fit, and she's very intelligent, and when you hear her speak, she's very intelligent. You can hear that intelligence. You can hear that she cares about people, and that's not something I mean, unless you're a really good actress, if you're doing a speech or something, that's not something you can fake.
No, I think she's not stuck up. She generally cares
No,
about other people. So,
she does. So those are some really good stories that we wanted to share, and we'll share, especially the kindling website. We'll be sharing that so we can find more good stories and stuff, because it's important to remember. The reason I wanted to, as I stated in the beginning, the reason I wanted to do this is because I believe in a God of love and a God of kindness, that we should take care of each other, that we should look out for each other. And maybe that's why I'm very socialistic when it comes to my politics, because I think that it can be overwhelming for one individual or a group of individuals to try to take care of a society, whereas the government has more of that efficiency, supposedly efficiency. Sometimes you wonder, but it's so but Jesus talked about taking care of each other. Paul talked about taking care of each other. You know, when there's a part when they're in Paul's letters where he's talking about where he's talking about what Catholics call communion, but before that was an actual meal, and that's what they talk about. And one of the things that Paul talks about is like, how dare you, rich people? How dare you not let you that have the free time and the wealth to sit around and have the meal, while those who of your church or of your community are laborers and don't come in until late, and when they come in, you have eaten all the meal before they've even come. How dare you do that? You're supposed to love your fellow man and take care of each other. And yes, you don't have to like make sure that the laborers don't have to ever work again, but you have to wait for them to come in so that they may enjoy the meal and enjoy the fellowship as well, instead of having that resentment. Paul talked about that. Paul talks about love in Romans. He's the that was the first thing that September read, was about love, and that is extremely important, because love is very caring and kind. That doesn't mean that we don't get upset as Christians. That's Jesus got mad. That's one of the things, and I think that's an important story. Is that Jesus was it was a God of love and brought love to the world, but that didn't mean that he didn't get angry, that he didn't get upset about injustice, because he did. And that's what the chasing the sellers at the temple, chasing out the sellers at the temple is about, is showing that was injustice. That was injustice on multiple levels. And you have every right to be upset. You have every right to march and and say this is wrong and be upset about that, because it's not what was intended. What's intended in my heart is that we as a society, we as a human race, should take care of each other, should love each other, should be there with each other, no matter what's going on, and no matter our race, our skin color, our ethnic backgrounds, our sexual backgrounds, or whatever. That's why Jesus talked about the story of the Good Samaritan. Samaritans was a race of people that were shunned by the Jewish people. And for him to come and help this Jewish person, knowing that he is shunned by the Jewish society, and still help him, we should be able to do that ourselves. And that's what Jesus was trying to say, is that no matter what, we should help each other, no matter who we are.
Well, lovely points. We can discuss some of it later. I'm trying not to laugh. I'm like, so the next time my kids eat the last of something or eat my leftovers, I can outright tell them they're going to hell. Cool.
No, I didn't.
The other was the Good Samaritan story having been found by historians to be added to the Bible later. It's not exactly something Jesus talked about. So, we want to go on to the carrot and stick?
Are you trying to rush us through? Is that what you're trying to do at this point? We got a little time.
Well, I don't have all the documentation for that, on hand, and I don't want to be clicking to make a lot of noise during the show. But I was surprised to hear you say Jesus talked about the Good Samaritan, because you're the theologian here. You should know about that. But
well, that's
maybe
not
what
that was not.
With the part of things I am, where I'm digging into what happened when a certain passage was translated or transcribed, and it was a really good piece I read about some things that were outright added over the years.
Well, I know there were some things added, but that was not one of them that was brought up in my classes. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. I can't, it's a comprehensive study, but I can't remember. I don't know everything. So, even if
but it's still a great story. It really is. That fable in particular is very effective.
And that's I think that one. I think that shows, and we've done this a couple of times in the past about where he says, however you treated the least of me is how you treated me, kind of situation. And that's how love should be. You should treat everybody as equals. You should treat everybody as a human being. And I think that is part of our problem in some respects. Don't get me wrong, I'm a camp. I'm in a camp. And they talk about us all breaking up into camps. I'm in a camp, and I know I am in a camp.
Me too. I'm with Bill and Ted, and just be excellent to each other.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And I'm hoping the new movie. All right. So let me back off for a second. You know what? Someone who also is a wonderful human being just in general, and that's Keanu Reeves. And I don't think the world deserves Keanu Reeves. That has been going around on the internet lately. He was on Stephen Colbert. He was on Stephen Colbert talking about John Wick 3. and Stephen Colbert asked him a question, and the question was, "What do you think happens to us when we die?" And Keanu Reeves, and most people don't see Keanu Reeves as a very deep thinker, but he's very intelligent, or he wouldn't be able to act and stuff like that. He sat there for a second and he says, "Well, I know that the people who loved us will miss us terribly." And I'm like, holy crap. That is it dodges
Yeah,
the
ooh, it's
question.
very astute, though.
It is very. He doesn't answer the theological question or the theological question, but he answers the question in a very honest way. And you're going, "Holy crap!" And it's just, at that point, it just the floodgates were open, and people were gushing about him. And I follow a lot of women on Twitter, and I made to mention this on my Facebook pages too. Is like, if they got Keanu Reeves and Jason Momoa together, I don't know if the world could handle that much. I'm just because there was this Jason Momoa is another person who is a very fun person. He's a bit of a dude bro in some respects, but that's okay. It's okay to be a little dude bro, but he's also a family man. No, I mean, if you're that kind of person, it's okay as long as you're not a douchey dude bro. But he's
See,
not.
but like he's dude bro in the way I'm dude bro. Like he doesn't drink beer and throw axes. I'm all over that. There's a place in Hickory. I'm so there. Rob doesn't want to go with me. Come on.
I would go with you and drink beer and throw axes.
He's
That
like
sounds great.
scared. Come on. We have to do this.
That sounds like so much fun. But no, what was it? He one of the things is they put out this video of him talking about being a father and everything else, and going rock climbing. Pretend the safe rock climbing and the places for with his kids and stuff like that. And I watched that and I'm going, I hope women don't see that, or they may instantly become pregnant just by watching this, because it was just that appealing to me. And I am a cis straight white male, and I'm going, man, if I was a woman, I'd be all over that. It's like, but but he's a beautiful human being. He gives money to charity as well. Keanu Reeves is another one who gives money to charity. He lives in a very he makes a lot of money, but a lot of that money goes to charity and stuff. He lives in a very modest home. He doesn't have a mansion out in the hills. He lives in a very modest home, you know, and he's finally hooking back up with with a friend that he's been friend with even after the movies. And they're going to be doing a Bill and Ted 3. How excellent is that?
Yeah, literally. Haha.
I'm sorry. Anyways, but there are good people in the world, and they don't have to be your same faith. I follow the Dalai Lama on Twitter and watch him on Facebook when he does videos and stuff, and he's such a man of love and compassion. I wished I had that much love and compassion in me. I wished I could be that forgiving. I don't have that, and I want that. I want to be able to be like, yeah, okay, I still love them, and I try to love everybody. But C.S. Lewis once said, to love someone is different than the liking them. You can love people, you can want the best for them, but you also don't have to want to be in the same room with them. So it's kind of a give and take. There are people that that would not be somebody I'd hang out with, but I still want the best for them. That's why I get upset. I do try not to say these things. Sometimes I slip and then I apologize. But I don't want any harm on anyone. I don't want any ill will on anyone. I want people to be successful, but I also want them to learn lessons. And sometimes that's a balance. It's like you need to learn this lesson that all people matter, not just rich people, or not just white people, or not just whatever. There is one other thing I want to touch on that we did last week. We talked about Jon Stewart.
Yes.
And he is still going at it. Mitch McConnell went on Fox and Friends. Even Jon Stewart even went on to Fox and talked about this at Fox, and trying to reach Congress. So Mitch McConnell comes on Fox and Friends like, I don't see what the big deal is. I don't see why he's all in a huff.
Oh
We'll
yeah,
get
he
it.
said, "Oh, he's just been out of shape."
Yeah, and then so Jon Stewart that night was got on to Stephen Colbert's show and just basically is like, this is why, because you've done this to us in the past and we're not going to let this happen again. We work our asses off to try to get this bipartisan, and you're sitting there slow rolling it. I know your people are slow. He did say that,
That
and
was funny.
I'm going.
The turtle reference was.
Like, well, he did on his old show. He did call him a turtle quite
Mm-hmm.
often. So it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, I could see that. He does look a bit like a turtle, sadly. But so let's do. So I guess at this point, because I know you have someone that you want to spend some time with, and we need to wrap this up tonight because you want to do editing and stuff like that. So let's do carrot and stick.
Okay.
So carrot is Dr. Reverend or Reverend Doctor. I never know which one to go. Dr. Reverend William J. Barber II. They are doing, and if you go on Facebook and follow him on Facebook, you can see it now. They're doing live events now, but they're basically doing a Poor People's Congress. They're basically doing seminars and stuff on how to organize, what we need to do for organizations. One of the things he talked about this morning was he talked about making sure art was involved, but not just someone who that you pay, show up and sing and they leave. Someone who is actually in it, someone who believes in this stuff. That we need poetry and art in any type of movement.
Well, Dr. Barber is someone that I actually know. I've had the good fortune to work with a few times over the years. Oh, he made me. I haven't seen him in a while. Usually I just run into him at, protests and stuff. But he did make me weep at a mutual friend and activist's funeral a few years ago. But what a good man. And he is a boots on the ground, true believer, as well as a man of God. And this whole thing is like the Poor People's Campaign is a national call for moral revival. And they want like a fundamental rights moral agenda for basically combating systemic racism is a really big part of this. He was part of the lawsuit against when we were trying to turn over HB2 here in North Carolina. He was actually signed right onto that lawsuit. So he's progressive, older, strongly religious black man doing good in North Carolina, and this is his movement. I'll post the link in our notes if you want to take a look and sign up to learn more.
He was for those who don't know, he North Carolina. We had a governor for a while that was horrible for 4 years, and he started this thing called Moral Mondays, where every Monday they would have a protest every Monday, and he was out there, and he's an older black gentleman. He walks with a cane, and everything, and he's not in the greatest shape.
He's out there
But
getting arrested.
but he's out there getting zip tied, arrested like everybody else, and and I'm just like, and he's such an amazing man. He is what he was at the Democratic convention. Was it here? I think it was that he spoke, or it may have been for Hillary. But he spoke about how he was an evangelical left, and I'm like, yes, that is what I am. I'm an evangelical left because I believe in these left things, and I believe in and the big thing is just like him, is I believe in the poor people and helping the poor people. That's why I champion. He's come out. There's a Bible that's out talking about taking care of the poor, and I need to get a copy of that. I also, that's why I champion the people's history of the United States so much, because it is a boots on the ground, for lack of a better term, groundlings view of this history that is grand and expanse and so beautiful when you read it in fancy books, but when you read it from the person's perspective who's living in a tenement, that barely has running water, let alone if it's healthy or not,
Yeah.
then it is an amazing history book. So I
So,
believe that.
have you signed up yet?
I have not signed up yet. I need to.
I am going
But
to do this. I am looking at it right now. I want to tell you the options, our audience, that you can choose to receive information from Poor People's Campaign. It's an I want to. First one is be trained to organize. Two is engage in massive power building and voter mobilization in poor communities. The next one is promote the moral agenda on social media. The next is deliver the demands of the moral agenda to my state legislators, U.S. House representatives, and U.S. senators. And you can agree to receive occasional campaign updates by text message. So those are probably all things I can do. And man, I should maybe see if they're hiring as well. I also, for you, Barney, we got a question from someone who is live watching us record.
okay. Okay.
Commander Meerkat is a online friend of mine. He comes in here now and again and to grills. He wants to know, can you love someone you don't trust?
You can love them. And we had this discussion with our forgiveness thing. You can love you can love you.
But I think he's asking you. It says Reverend Barney.
I love everybody. That doesn't mean I have to trust them, because love is different. I still want the best for them. I try hard, and again, I'm working on some things, especially with forgiveness and stuff. I try hard to forgive, but I'm very bad at it. But I still love people. There are people that have hurt me emotionally and everything else, and I'm like, no, I can't be around this individual. But that does not mean that I don't want the best for them. I hope and pray that they find out why I'm no longer in their lives, or why people don't trust them anymore, and that they get an epiphany and get better. It's like the song by Kesha, Praying. She's praying that the individual who hurt her becomes a better human being. That's what I pray for. I pray for people to be better.
Yeah, I think love isn't limited necessarily by trust, and love doesn't make the relationship you have with someone unlimited. You can love them unconditionally, but put conditions on a relationship so that you're not damaging each other in this
right world. Some people are toxic to other people, and that's fine, and you need to avoid them. But that doesn't mean that you don't stop loving them, that you don't stop praying for them, that they are that they find peace and become better, that you don't find the peace in you as well. Because sometimes it's on both. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of cases where toxic relationships are two-sided, and or trust relationships are two-sided, and so you have to pray for yourself as well to be a better person. Or and not just pray, you also have to strive to do it and work a better thing. That's one of the reasons I did these couple of 2 programs. And next week's going to be Pride, and we're going to try to stay mostly positive on the Pride ones, but we will talk about politics as well. But is that I wanted to be more that I am not a spiteful human being that's just angry at everything, because I'm not. I do love and I do care, and that's why I'm angry, is because I care so much. I want this world to be a better place. And I love everybody, and I want everybody to find love and be a better person.
Doke. So I know you wanted to do this stick. Onto the stick.
Yeah, so
there's our carrot for Reverend Barber.
Yeah, so our stick, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. So a few days ago, a week ago, whatever, I don't care. She talking about being forgiving. She's decided that she's leaving as the press secretary, though she hasn't held a daily brief in 94 days. But she's got things to do. So like keeping up with the lies that go on with the president. I put up an article, which is an opinion piece, but it's basically, we can't, fine, she's gone, but we can't forgive her, and we can't let her forget, and we can't forget what damage she has done to this position, because part of being a press secretary is being transparent. And when she said, I want to be remembered as someone who is transparent and open, and I'm just going, oh, oh, girl, oh, girlfriend. That is so not going to happen.
Yeah.
You got booed down during that whole. Oh, for those who don't remember, when they were doing the daily press briefs, especially when the first set of caging children was coming about, and just the utter contempt and lies that she gave to us, you know, I wish nothing for the best for her. I hope she moves on and is is healthy and lives a happy life, and her and her children grow up and maybe hopefully become better people. Her father is a reverend, and that's what makes me even more angry. Her father should have went up and been
You
like,
know, we don't know. Maybe she couldn't take it anymore. She did her job. She did. I couldn't have done that job. Spewing all that garbage.
no, I couldn't have done it either. But then again, I wouldn't have taken the job in the first place.
Exactly. Maybe she'll come around morally.
Maybe, and that's my hope and prayer. So, do you have anything to add?
Nope.
All
Bye,
right,
Felicia.
bye, Felicia. So, thank you again for joining us here at Heresy and Heresy. I'm Reverend Barney, and you can follow me on Twitter at SethRothII. You can follow and find the show at Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, podcast, as well as our website. Don't forget to just Google us. Don't forget our Patreon page, where $2 a month can keep us going. We also, you explain the Twitch thing because I don't know it.
What? Okay. I'm September. You can follow this show at Heresy and Hearsay. Those of you that do know, if you do at Heresy and Hearsay, it'll find us. It'll show up. It shortens it in some mobile venues and stuff like that, but it's not really worth mentioning. I know it seems to be confusing you, but it's okay. It's like Heresy and Here's One. Don't worry about it. It was just long. I'm September. I can be followed on Twitch and Twitter at 9 of 12. And you can hear me on the Geek Girls and Trust Your Keep. Trust. Wow. Yeah. Whatever. It's not on right now anyway. Thanks for listening. Bless your hearts.
What I was all right, what I was talking about is the Twitch thing where they can do the subscribe thing or whatever.
Just follow? What do you mean?
Well, where they can do like they do the where they give the little coins or whatever if they do it to your Twitch account.
You're talking about
like
bits? Donating bits?
Yeah, donating.
Okay, that's Twitch. That's not Twitter at all.
I did I say Twitter?
Yeah, you said Twitter, and so I was like, what are you
I'm
talking
sorry.
about? Okay, yeah. I'll try to remember to add a spiel in the notes about donating bits somewhere next time.
And I know, like, if you're a Prime user, you can use you get one free sub, yeah. And I don't know what that does for anybody. I don't know how.
Every month you can sub to somebody. I mean, if you sub to people on Twitch, it's like $4.99 a month, right?
Right.
If you've got, and it goes like half of it goes to the actual person making the shows.
Oh, okay.
Okay. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free sub a month, so you can give them Jeff Bezos money instead of your own. It's free.
Right. So that's okay. So yeah, that's what I was curious about. So yeah.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
So yeah. So we can do those kind of things added on for, and I know it's your channel, and that's fine. But whatever helps you, because you're the one.
Well, being that I've been our only patron for who knows how long now.
I'm going to join in July, I promise. I'm just like, I'm catching up right now, so I'm just like, oh, Jesus.
It's okay. I'm the only grill that is actually a patron of the grill show too. I believe in myself.
I just wish more people would get. I'm just asking for $2 a month. I'm not asking.
And I think I used to get $5, and I had to reduce my own to $2, because well, I'm trying to have this surgery and.
Yeah, no, I understand. But I'm just like, why? It's $2. I have enough we have some followers, I guess. You know the numbers more than I do.
I don't know. I got to look behind it. And I have to look at our website, too, because I Googled this today, and our SEO is terrible. So I've got some work there to do, too. We're not
Okay.
showing up near the top where we're supposed to. So I'll get that work done soon. But for now,
Go
I'll
and have
say
some
goodbye to our friends here in the chat. Thank you for joining us. And Dills is on, so I'm going to raid Dills before we go offline. And then go see my friend.
You know, I would
One
if
viewer. Why is there one? We had 3. There's 3.
uh
Bye.
by,
Tell Diz we love him.
by the way, if you're able to ever score an interview for